And welcome to another episode of The Quiet Shh Out Loud, where we talk about the quiet shh in different places, at different times, and in different ways. Our guest today will likely need no introduction, but before I get to that, before I let them introduce themselves, let's start with our normal disclaimer that our guest today is representing themselves and ideas that are currently held in the moment. They are not to be held in perpetuity and are open to change because we are functional adults that have differing opinions as soon as more information is being delivered. To that end as well, they are representing, again, themselves, not companies that they may have been at in the past, at now, or in the future. So with all that disclaimer and legal aside, I will let our guest introduce themselves. Take it away.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Leah Daniels, and I currently work for JobSync, although we are not representing it today. And for those of you who've known me, I'm probably 25 years into the recruitment technology space, so I have some opinions on all that good stuff.
Strong opinions, some loosely held, but
Definitely loosely held.
but yeah, Leah is a great person to talk to. And for that and that reason alone, I'm going to hand it off to my co-host to ask our very famous first question.
Love it. Thank you, Loud Wizard. All right, Leah. What's the quiet shh in your space?
I think for me right now, the quiet shh that's taken residence in my head, it kind of just sits there and marinates, is
Living
that
there rent free.
rent free and like increasing the square footage, is that the participants in the recruitment and recruitment marketing space, technology, media, all the providers are profiting far too high on failure, not success.
It's a delicious one.
It
Think
is.
about it. Think about it. We profit on clicks, not hires. Candidates, but those candidates are a function of those clicks. We create career sites that add more friction, not less. So we spend a lot of money to not actually accomplish the hiring part of the program. We build technology on top of technology on top of technology to save all the things that have failed before us. We're making too much money on failure. We need to start making money on success. We got to align. That's my rent free right now.
Well, I think my question to you there is, unlike with other products out there in space where you can always make more product or sell more product, recruiting starts at a how do we get this to zero product, because you don't want more clicks at the top and you don't want that. You almost are asking for failure so that the one person who can presumably be the best dance monkey or dancing bear shows up and shows out in that process.
Sure, but that's based on a really shaky assumption that if you really want the job, you'll go through whatever nonsense I'm willing to put in front of you. And that doesn't actually mean that you're a good candidate. It just means you're really willing to put up with whatever gauntlet I have, American Gladiator style gauntlet I've decided to put in front of you for this, $16 an hour job. I think it's a shaky foundation. So it's my current residence. There's too much money being made in failure to succeed, in alignment with the clients, with people paying these vendors.
Yeah.
That's fine.
All right, there's your shaky. Okay, so you said this was a shaky foundation. You talked a little bit about the hire. What would success be, or what should success look like for the client? Because I'm not sure that even clients know the answer to that question.
Oh, it's a great point, right? I think a lot of companies are still in a place where they think that it's acceptable to interview 20 people to make one hire over the course of 3 months, and then wonder why person one, who you actually still really wanted, is no longer available. Like, why aren't you still waiting for me? I am the princess. I want that rose, right? I think we have a lot of problems in the hiring process. If you think about it, if you want to make one hire, the least number of applicants you need is one. The most you should need is maybe 10. right? If they're all qualified, they're all appropriate. Now, we've taught candidates lots of bad behavior, right? We taught them that you have to apply to 100 jobs to get one. We did this as a group. We've added to the problem, but then technology adds on top of it. There is no reason that match should be so bad. There's no reason for it. We intentionally haven't fixed it because if we fix match, we will send less candidates, less applications, spend less money, right? There is a whole problem in that funnel. And that's not just the job boards. I'm picking on them a little bit here, but it's not the job boards, right? The trusted advisors, the agencies, the technology, the CRMs all contribute to this as well. Create more reasons for you to collect data, hold data, charge for data, engage with the candidates or the leads, charge for those activities, when in fact it is misaligned to the outcome, which is hire efficiently and effectively as quickly as possible.
So, as you were saying that, there's something that kind of came to mind because I was, being in Los Angeles and certainly in large metropolitan cities, you see a lot of homelessness and pieces like that. And there was, I want to say, a pretty good, may have been New York Times, may have been something else, report on essentially the homeless industrial complex, which is all of these organizations that exist to solve the problem. But if they solve the problem, they would no longer be there to exist.
Yes.
And so what you were saying sort of made me think of the hiring industrial complex, which is if we actually solved our problem, we would no longer exist. And instead of that being driven by the people who are doing the work and doing the thing, the people who are trying to solve it are people from the outside who don't necessarily know the things that the people inside know what to do. Is that putting words in your mouth or just
Yeah,
basically
I
connecting a whole bunch of loose strings?
wasn't sure where you were going. I actually thought you were going to go in a different direction. You're not
Where did you
wrong, right?
think I was going with it? Because now I'm
Well,
curious.
I will pull that string in a second. But like if you think about it, there's a lot of industries that exist to help but not solve, right? Like let's help but not solve, because if we solve, then we will be out of a job, we will be out of a business, whatever it might be. And if we're not clever enough to evolve, that will be the entire life cycle of the business. I thought where you were going is actually putting the homeless to work. Ben, you and I have had, oh, sorry, the Quiet Wizard and I have
Oh,
had
you can
an
say his name. That's
Yeah.
fine.
interesting chat about the unnecessary information you are required to provide in order to be an applicant. Like there's no reason you need an email address to be an applicant other than the ATS makes you have one. That is actually not a requirement for any job to apply, except for it is a requirement of all jobs to apply, is that you must have this email address thing, because we've required it because they have a database and there's a row and a column and it says must have email. I thought that's where we were headed, because if you think about putting the homeless to work, step one is getting them an application that used to be something you could walk in and fill out on a piece of paper that no longer exists. You now have to go and at best use a kiosk, which is going to ask you for an email. And you don't have an email because you don't have, what would you do with an email, right? So there's some funny things about the way we think about hiring. I thought that's where you were headed with that, but you are also right in that a lot of industries exist to perpetuate the industry itself.
Okay, Leah, I got a different question for you. How did job boards become the ultimate matchmaker?
So if you think about what is a job board's product, what do they own? What do they sell? It's not postings. It's not resume access. It's not even their ATS or their background checks. They sell access to hireable humans. And so their investment in their product is their investment in curating a large number of people who will interact with their content, which is the jobs. Those people are their product. That is why they've become matchmakers, is because they have half of the equation. It's like if you were going to be a dating site and you were able to effectively attract half of the dating population, right? The other half is sort of somewhat, has no choice but to go into this matchmaking realm, because that's where the potential dates are. So you find yourself there. If you can own half of the equation, which is what they've done effectively, first starting with the candidates, the companies will follow.
Well, and I mean, to your point, I think that's what social media has actually found. Whereas if you can capture the market on teenage girls, that
Yes.
teenage boys will follow, and then naturally parents will follow because they're basically trying to police stuff, and then you've essentially built out your whole thing. It was what worked for. I mean, Facebook did it with college age people first, and then Instagram popped up, very similar. WhatsApp, similar. TikTok, very similar. So it's you have to create the well that everybody has to go to, and naturally people will follow the where what they want.
If you think about any sort of buyer-seller relationship, right? Even like, so Etsy did it the other way. They curated first the artists, the creative ones that needed a platform in which to get their goods to market, right? Because they were sort of restricted by the locality of where they lived up till that point. So creating an online marketplace essentially, and then bring the buyers in through that means, right? So some of them, you create the marketplace either way, but it's still a dominance on one side can drive the activity on the other. Usually the free side first, right? So like the sellers, you don't have to pay to be a seller. You can just have a marketplace, bring in the buyers second, right? It's a natural state of things. Anyway, that's my thing.
I'm curious, at what point does it dry up? At what point does the money run out?
That's a great question, right? I think it's disruption. It's disruption that makes the money run out. I mean, despite all of the AI and the fact that we're going to replace all the humans with robots and agentics, and we're all going to live on the beach apparently with, I'm not sure what money, but it'll be there. We're all going to vibe code tomorrow and build our own thing. I think some form of disruption changes it, right? I think the world continues to persist. It's just going to look different. People got jobs before Monster showed up as an online job board. People got jobs after Monster, right? People will get jobs in 10 years. There will always be work to be done.
With or without compensation?
Preferably with, for a lot of people. A lot of people are in the pro compensation group. Not everybody, but a lot of people feel strongly about the pro side on that one.
Well, I mean, and I think that what you just said actually there, Ben, which actually now makes me think about it, which is, in the past, you didn't have an agent. You didn't have any of the pieces, or maybe you had an agent because you're in show business, but the agent piece and the AI piece will now allow you to if you spend a lot of time teaching it what you know and teaching the agent side what you know, realistically you could exist digitally in perpetuity. And so I think one of the things that's kind of an interesting debate becomes, all right, if you can do this, most people are probably not thinking about what does an estate look like for this? When does what you do, like you could pass this on for generations. We could be stuck with certain pieces of information that have not been sort of like hairs, 1920s, whatever, or 2020s, mindset for a person. And that could be somebody like, oh, well, I remember I don't know, Tim Sackett's, the Lou Adler's, the everybody, and I really want to keep that thing going. And so it's like this thing that now people could, you have access almost in perpetuity, but what's the payment going to look like to the next generation and your family and all of that, which is kind of an interesting thought.
Well, I think part of it too is we laugh about the agentics and all this stuff, but the article that Sam Altman put out recently about the cost of the word please, right, in OpenAI, and that doesn't even get into the audio AI and the cost to run an audio AI. This is not going to go down to cost zero. Like, there are just elements of these things that have so much, not just direct cost, but indirect, right? Cost, like the cost of the energy and what that is going to do from a green space perspective. I think there's a lot of hidden costs that we've not considered. So I am curious to see how low we get to 0, but I don't think we're getting to 0. So I think that utopia doesn't exist.
Yeah. Getting into kind of our last famous question here, what is the quiet in your career?
Yeah, I had a couple of them that stand out in my head. 2 prominent ones. One is I had someone tell me once that has stuck with me forever. Sometimes you have to let fail, and you have to sit back and watch it against all your better instincts, because it's not your job to let it fail. But if it doesn't fail, it won't succeed. Right? The business won't support it, the business won't fund it, you won't get the headcount, whatever it is. If you martyr yourself, it won't actually succeed. And so that one stuck with me. The second one, which is a tangent off of that, is sometimes you have to leave for it to succeed. So it may be that you're right, you need X resources, Y things, and so forth, but you're never getting it. You're never getting it. You leave, the business realizes, oh yeah, they were really serious. They needed 4 headcount and all this budget and whatnot, and then it can succeed. There are the reality of some circumstances that you have to leave for it to succeed, which is, by the way, not the greatest news to have to come to terms with for yourself when you're like, I will never make this work here. All the business case in the world and Excel sheets and PowerPoints that point to Excel sheets that point to other PowerPoints will not solve this problem.
Got to have your come to Jesus.
Yeah, and you may be doing a great job, but you can't move it forward for political reasons, infrastructural reasons, preconceived notions. Could because you're a girl, who knows, right? Could be any of those things. Could be all of them. But there are things that will prevent you from being successful, even when you do everything right, and that the option for it to be successful and for you really to be successful is to leave. By the way, I'm not leaving JobSync, in case anybody's curious.
Leave now or forever hold your peace.
That could land wrong. I should think about that for a second.
I think that last one's pretty hard hitting, I think, for a lot of folks.
Is that a little too deep for today?
Never. Ever. But I think it matches what we see in the job marketplace nowadays. Right? We're seeing the time in whether it's role, time in company continue to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. We talk about all the reasons of why that's happening. This is another reason why that's happening that I don't think you get to hear about very often.
Yeah, I'm not sure everybody recognizes it either. I think a lot of times you leave from frustration. You don't actually put the piece together that your frustration is actually the fact that you can't progress forward in the business for one reason or another, or your project or your department or whatever it is can't go because you can't get it there. And even it doesn't mean you're not capable. It doesn't mean you wouldn't be excellent somewhere else at doing the exact same thing in the exact same place. But there is a set of, like I said, political, circumstantial, people, whatever it might be, that's going to stop you from being successful in that. And you can't fix that. There is a moment where you can't fix it. And I think you just leave out of frustration without recognizing that that is the wall that you're running up against and why that exists.
Well,
It's also really.
Oh no, go with what you were going to say.
I was going to say, it's also super hard to tell someone else that when you can sit from the outside and see it happening to like one of your colleagues or one of the people you've mentored over the years, where you're like, you're going to have to leave, not because you're bad at your job, but because you can't go forward anymore because of the circumstance in which you're in. No one wants to hear that either. And I think it's actually really important to recognize that it is a place in your career that you can hit without being upset or mad or angry. It's just reality of like the circumstances that you've found yourself in.
Well, not to lead with frustration, but we've run out of time here, and we'll have to have you back so that we can decrease the frustration of a time limit. I will let Ben play us out.
Leo, where can people find you?
I'm on LinkedIn, mostly on LinkedIn, actually. That's a good place to find me. I don't really do the rest of the Twittering, Instagramming, reeling. Well, I guess not called Twitter anymore. Xing? Xing sounds inappropriate. whatever that is. Whatever that is one does on X. I don't know what the verb for X is anymore. It's tweeting still, right?
It
I
has
have
to
no
be.
idea.
All right. LinkedIn's a good place to find me.
All right. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Leah. Loved all of your insights. Again, another great episode with the Loud Wizard, the Quiet Wizard, and Leah Daniels. And we'll see you next time on the Quiet Out Loud.